Hello and welcome to Thought Leader Talks. Our thought leader for the month is Francis Pindar, a 17x Salesforce certified and one of the only 9 people globally to be awarded a Salesforce MVP 7 times. He holds over 13 years of experience in the Salesforce ecosystem and is also TOGA F9, AWS, and product management certified. Francis has channeled his extensive IT experience, 20 years as a dev, and his Salesforce experience with 100 plus Salesforce implementations under his belt in developing top rated admin to architect courses. 100,000 students have been coached by him as they navigate through Salesforce admin and architect certifications. Francis also is the co-founder and director of London's Calling, Europe's largest community-led event for Salesforce professionals. Let's get his insights on prepping for the Salesforce admin certification and advice on your Salesforce career path. Hi, Francis. Great to have you on board.
Yeah, no worries. Hiya. How you doing?
Yeah, so Francis, start with your top-rated courses. So you've mentored you have mentored 100,000 Salesforce admins.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, just hit it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so it's been good.
Great. So can you zone in on 5 pointers that would give budding Salesforce admins that you would give to budding Salesforce admins to prep and successfully crack the admin certification?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 parts. I think I always think of it as rather than cracking the certification, your goal is getting a job in the Salesforce ecosystem. So you've got to think of it that point of view rather than that you're just getting a Salesforce certification. And if you're thinking it in that way, then you can kind of really set yourself up for success for doing it. So, and getting an admin certification is just one piece of it. Because also when you kind of go for your interview at a company or even a kind of a top tier consultancy, if you've just got certified and you don't have much Salesforce experience, then they're going to know that because they've looked at your CV and they've got you in for an interview, not just for that, but because they want you to kind of grow in the role. So the questions they ask are going to be different, and it might not be just this is, the kind of technical knowledge of Salesforce. So it's kind of more around scenario-based questions and what you do in different circumstances and how you manage different stakeholders and how you communicate. So especially those top tier consultancies, some of them don't even ask you any Salesforce technical questions because they know you're just at the beginning of your career, and actually the scenarios and how you think and how kind of understanding how the way you work is their priority. So they know that you can kind of grow in the role because they know if they give you stuff, you're going to learn it anyway. So I think, that's key. And also being confident and understanding kind of the ecosystem as well. And understanding those kind of softer skills, I suppose.
That's true. So yeah, there is a greater emphasis on soft skills. So it's great that you see the long-term vision when prepping the Salesforce admin.
Yeah, and then also if when you are actually if you are focusing on that admin certification, then just do loads of mock exams. Really focus down. I think also a lot of people kind of go into Trailhead and just get lost in it. And you really got to go look at that exam guide for the admin certification and even like print it off and actually go through it, ticking off each thing and making sure you kind of understand it. And if you don't, dive into Trailhead or dive into kind of like the courses I run that are really just focused on getting certified, and also knowing that kind of business best practice as well that really can help you out in an exam, in an interview, because if you can say, well, actually, so one of the questions is around types of fields, for example, and you can say, well, yeah, but don't use roll-up summary field, don't use multi-select pick list fields because this could impact this, and this. Then that makes you look really good in the interview. So it's kind of like understanding kind of best practice as well and little tips and tricks so you can bring that into your interview to show that actually you know more than just the functionality of Salesforce, the best practice as well.
Right, practical pointers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, that leads up to our next question, where the Salesforce ecosystem does offer a plethora of career paths. And what advice would you give to Salesforce admins and devs to zone in on a certification path, but as you said, towards a long-term Salesforce career?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people kind of go with the masses, I suppose, and follow, the route that everybody else has trodden, but they don't actually look at them and their kind of history and their previous experience. Because it's not just about Salesforce experience, it's about your industry experience. It's about where you kind of come from as well, and how you align that so you can kind of really maximize your chances of a job and your whole career. So, if you've worked in the finance world, for example, then, or even if just a little bit, then, learn those finance apps on the platform. Or if you've come from a security or resilience, learn the backups, options that you've got on the platform, so that actually when you kind of get that role, it almost looks like your natural progression. It's a really natural progression into Salesforce. But also, yeah, it's kind of like understanding what is really in need in the work in the industry at the moment.
Okay.
So, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, there's a lot of people that have gone that route. Then actually going, well, actually, what are the must-haves that companies are really after at the moment? Analytics, maybe the Tableau side of things, the kind of marketing cloud, that side that are really kind of in demand, and actually heading that route more than the traditional sales and service cloud kind of route that everybody takes. And also for me, was because it's a passion for me as well, is don't be afraid of the architect route. Because if you look at like the security and visibility certification in Salesforce, if you actually look at it, the majority is declarative security. It's all kind of point and click security, very much as the admin. I even think of it as this, a lot of it is just kind of a security 101, I suppose, that you kind of get from the admin and the app builder certifications. And then the rest of it is kind of the harder declarative security, which is just learnable. It's still declarative. And actually, you could pass that exam just by knowing the declarative security part of it without knowing anything else. And also, I always believe that, as an admin, you are an architect. You're making architectural decisions every time you create an object in Salesforce, because an architectural decision is something that is going to be hard or expensive to change in the future. So the moment you create an object in Salesforce, that could have flows on top of it, it could have reports, it could be integrations, you could have a backup solution, backupping it up, whatever it may be, all these kind of interlinked systems. And suddenly this object's quite hard to change. So having architectural knowledge as you progress through your career is, I think, really, really vital. And also, when you think of your career, I always think of it as you're kind of moving from this functional way of learning Salesforce. You functionally know how Salesforce works. Then you kind of move into this kind of trusted advisor area, where the client or the company you're working with trusts your advice. And when you say, hey, we think we should do this, or we should do this solution, they actually trust you, and they kind of go, yeah, that's great, let's do it. And they trust you to implement it. And then you kind of move into this vital category, which a lot of companies don't want you to be, because you're the single point of failure. You are, but people that are in this vital category, can take all the holiday they want. They can, it doesn't matter. The rules don't apply to them, because they're vital for that business. And if they know, and the business knows that, and they want to make sure they keep them happy and everything else. And once you're in this stage, really, the world's your oyster. And to become that both inside the company you're working for, but also outside. So finding your niche in the Salesforce ecosystem and really kind of going, hey, and it kind of goes back to your experience. If you've come from that financial services kind of industry and you are a guru in Marketing Cloud, then really make that your niche, become really good in that. And then everybody in the world will want to hire you, because you've got all that business best knowledge, this practice in that industry with that particular tool. And they know they're going to get real value from employing you, because you've done all the best practice, how not to do it. Right. And therefore they're going to pay you a lot more, and you're going to have a lot more enjoyable career, I think.
Right. Yeah, you got everybody salivating at holidays.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, and it's like, when you're in that, you know, um, it really can. And also for me, I don't work full time because I've got, I'm in that great position where I'm kind of in that category for certain companies, and they trust my every move, every word, and they know that the value I give is massive for the company, and
Yeah.
therefore, if they know that the decisions you make are going to save them millions or save them hundreds of thousands, then you've got to compare yourself with the value you're giving rather than just this salary that I'm getting, kind of thing.
Right. So use your domain experience and find your niche.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely. And I think this is the way the world's going, I think, as well.
That's true. So, talking about data protection with increasing breaches and ransomware, malware, like data protection, particularly SaaS data protection, has become a business priority. What are the must-have data security controls that admins should focus on setting up?
So so I kind of work in the regulated business kind of area within Salesforce. So it's kind of very much a kind of an important part of making sure the data is secure, that you've got the controls in place, and there's a lot of little things in Salesforce that you can just switch on by accident that could expose your data, not not intentionally or but you need to be aware of them basically. So things like you've installed an app in Salesforce, but you've allowed all your users to have the ability for that partner to log into the org as them, and that in itself, you're kind of sharing the org's data with somebody else, which could be a potential breach. And also that partner could potentially change your data in your org.
Right.
And I think whenever I kind of think of data security and security within Salesforce, it's very much, there's the Salesforce responsibility of making sure the platform is secure, and that, if there's incidents on their side of the fence, I suppose, that they can fix it and sort it all out, which is totally fine. But, the majority of the incidents that you get are all inside the business, and one of the key things is like data corruption for me. So you've got an integration that goes a little bit wonky and just kind of updates a load of records that you weren't expecting, or deletes or changes. And I kind of think of it in the kind of, what is the risk when I kind of go through it? It's kind of, okay, for each of your objects in Salesforce, what would the impact be to the business if the records were viewed, created, updated, or deleted? And based on those 4 scenarios, you can kind of work out, okay, where is the risk each of these objects, and then based on that you can put the appropriate controls for all your internal users to make sure that they only have the permission they need to do their job and no more. But also you've got those kind of backup solutions, you've got those kind of scenarios in place that if something does go wrong, you can kind of get back from it. Because if a user runs amok and deletes a load of records or modifies a load of records in Salesforce, and you go knocking to Salesforce going, help, generally they're not going to really, be that forthcoming. And also, even if you do, there's going to be a delay in getting that data back anyway. So, it's the timeliness of getting back to normal as well, you need to be aware of.
That's true, because it's critical for business continuity too. At downtime.
Yeah. And having your system out for some companies, even out for a couple of minutes, couple of days, a couple of hours or whatever, could have a massive impact. And actually the cost of that far outweighs the cost of, a solution to,
yeah. The peace of mind is priceless.
Absolutely, yeah. And then to be honest, I've been in that scenario before, and you only realize when it happens to you how valuable it really is. When something goes amok. So, but also, don't think of it also as just data corruption. It's also people downloading data, people viewing data that they shouldn't, and sharing that with competitors or whatever, and trying to get some money out of it, for example.
So strictly on a need to know, zero trust basis. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think also a lot of people kind of forget that actually, if you've got a full sandbox that's got production data in it, or you might have a partial sandbox that has production data, and actually you kind of relax the rules almost in the sandboxes, but it's still got production data in it. It still should have the same controls that you have in production. So, just making sure, you're aware of that as well.
And talking about Ohana is one of the best parts of Salesforce. But for a
Absolutely.
newbie, yeah, for a newbie to kind of find their foothold in it, to start engaging and collaborating, can be a bit daunting. So, what advice, what tips would you give?
I think I always teach, whenever somebody's coming into the Salesforce world, it's like, just immerse yourself in it. It could be that you're just doing it from afar. You're just kind of jumping onto community group webinars and things like that. So you're not kind of engaging one-on-one or in a community group, but just start putting your toe in the water and getting to know it. And also, I think part of my kind of training I do is around how do you build your confidence up? How do you kind of communicate well? And one of those ways you can do it is through the Ohana. It's like, if you've got this niche and you've got this area, well, how do you tell somebody that that's what you do? What's your pitch, I suppose, to people when you talk to them and engage with them? But also to build up your confidence, you can engage with community groups and start going to your local community group. Or if there's not one in your area, look about starting one. You don't even need to know much about Salesforce to start a community group. But if you know loads of people in the community that do know Salesforce, bring them along. And that's one of the reasons why I started London's Calling. It's like, it's impossible to know the whole of the Salesforce platform. It's just too big now. Yeah. But if you can bring kind of gurus together and collaborate and learn from each other, then that's kind of priceless. So yeah, start small and then just kind of gradually grow. And if you're really confident and crazy, then yeah, start up your own group and really kind of go and really immerse yourself in it. And it's really valuable because making those connections with those different people is just brilliant, because you can literally, like, I know I've got a go-to person that is the guru of Marketing Cloud. I'm not great on Marketing Cloud, but I know this person is. So if I get a project that is Marketing Cloud, I know somebody who is guru and can point me in the right direction. And just having somebody there that can go, oh no, try this, or go over here and here's the information, some great articles here, or blog posts that can answer your questions, then that's really great. And also just going to these community groups and events, it kind of gives you a bit of a shot in the arm to kind of keep the excitement and the kind of adrenaline going and the kind of new stuff that's coming out and excitement going. So it kind of keeps you motivated as well. So making sure you've kind of got a good cadence for going to different events to kind of keep that motivation up. Because, if you're learning on your own, it's always a little bit of a struggle. But if there's a group of you that are kind of learning together or working together, then it can really help you kind of progress your career a lot quicker than if you're doing it kind of on your own. So I always find that really, really useful. And also, if you want to really improve like your presentation skills and things like that, talk to a local community group and say, hey, can I do a 5-minute feature? Like, I'm going to just literally a 5-minute talk on a feature within Salesforce that you've learned or about, and literally it's 5 minutes. So it doesn't matter. It's really low risk for you. If it goes terribly, it doesn't minute, it's only 5 minutes. But if it goes well, you've kind of built that little bit more confidence about standing in front of people and presenting kind of a feature and solution. And if you can do that in a small user group as well, or community group, it's great as well, because it's kind of, again, low risk, low craziness, but it kind of keeps that, building up that kind of softer skills as well.
That's true. Yeah, Ohana is one of the key differentiators of Salesforce when compared to any other SaaS platform. So, yeah.
Totally, completely. I go to other kind of SaaS provider conferences and stuff like that, and honestly, just nothing like the kind of collaborative, helping nature of everybody within the Salesforce community. They just want to help and want to support. And actually, I've been training some refugees in London recently, and we invited them all to London's Calling. And they just like, wow, they couldn't believe just how helpful everybody else was, and how they really wanted to support them and make them successful within the community. So yeah, no, it's a wonderful community.
Yes, a very genuine family, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So talking about our the current market landscape, so the Great Resignation seems to be turning into the Great Layoff. And what is your
Yes.
on the Salesforce job market landscape?
Yeah. So I think it almost kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it's like, if you're functional, you're kind of in this area where it's anybody can do a functional job. Yeah. And you're kind of like, you're always kind of looking over your shoulder when you go on holiday or whatever. It's like, I'm just an admin. Anybody can do it, can't they? And so if you really start shifting that needle across and becoming more known in either inside your company or outside of your company on the internet, of being really good at this technology or this piece within the company or a piece of platform, then you're going to add value, and therefore harder to leave, basically, or get laid off. And also, people are just going to go head more for you because you've got more of that profile, you've got more of that kind of business understanding. But also, I think I get a lot of emails, hundreds of emails from like consultancies and stuff all over the world saying, we've got admins and developers for hire, come to us, we can do it at this price or whatever. And like literally everybody does the same thing. Yeah. And you're only competing on price. It's just straight to the bottom, basically, whenever you're kind of doing that. But if you're actually going, we focus on this piece of technology in this industry, and that is your niche, and that's what you're really good at, then people are going to come to you. Yeah. And therefore, and it's the same as an individual, people are going to come to you for your expertise and knowledge. And so therefore the kind of the great layoff, the great, migration and stuff like that doesn't really apply to you at all, because you're kind of, you're kind of protecting yourself from it just by, understanding that. So you know more than just the functional capabilities of the platform. You know how to get the best out of it and really maximize the value of the Salesforce platform for the company or the kind of consultancy you're working for.
You really bring value to the table.
Yeah, and that's it. If you bring value to the table, then you're safe. It doesn't really apply to you. So.
Thank you, Francis. Great insights from you. And I will add a link to your website and to your blog, and people can reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you head to admintoarchitect.com/challenge, there's actually a career challenge that I have. It's free to sign up, and it basically just goes through some of the kind of the values, your kind of strengths and weaknesses, and try and identify what they are and where you can find your niche, basically, and your career path through Salesforce. So yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for those helpful insights, Francis. Click on the playlist or watch the next video for pointers from other thought leaders.